Good evening. I'd like to call to order. We've been closed sessions. We have a quorum. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I haven't even turned on the computer yet. Got one right here. Thank you. Student Perspectives, North High School.
Mark is going to kick it off for us here.
We have a celebrity in the audience. Welcome, Julia Beckman.
Make sure you put it on the record.
Good evening. My name is Mark Marandola. I'm the Director of Student Activities at Downers Grove North High School. For the Student Perspectives segment this evening, we've actually invited two of our journalism students. So in a moment, they'll come up, they'll introduce themselves. But I asked them to join us this evening because the journalism program, both at North and South, if you haven't seen some of the press releases as well as social media, really successful programs. And so we've had a lot of success at North, and not to be outdone, South's program won state this year. So a huge accomplishment for them. So we definitely want to recognize that. But I also want to highlight just some of our students and some of the accomplishments we've had at North. So for example, this year, we had the Illinois Journalist of the Year. This is the second consecutive year that North High School has had the Illinois Journalist of the Year. Last year we had, I believe it was Abby Murphy, won that award. And it's a rare feat for a school to have, two winners, let alone, in consecutive years. So it's a huge accomplishment. And then Natalie White also was runner-up for the National Journalist of the Year award. So a huge accomplishment, for her as well as our program. And so we want to recognize, some of the other accomplishments for our journalism program. And so Sarah Rogos was named to the All-State Journalism team. Matt Schroer here is going to talk about the Free Spirit Award that he won this year. Zan Bando took 6th place in state in sports writing, and Sophia Delorio took 3rd in state in editorial cartooning. So definitely some pretty big accomplishments for our journalism program. And so I just want to congratulate, our representatives that are here, as well as the sponsors, Eric Landshut and Liz Levin. And I'm going to invite Sarah and Matt to step to the microphone and talk to you a little bit about their program, as well as their experiences. Now, Matt and Sarah are editors-in-chief for next school year.
Yes.
And so I believe it's a deadline night for
deadline night tonight, so we're going right back there after this.
And so the rest of the rest of the group is hard at work getting everything done. And so these are the two students that, because they are going to be editors in chief for next year, we decided to bring them to talk to you guys.
Okay, I'm Sarah. I'm a junior this year, and this is my first year as an editor on staff. Throughout the past 2 years, being a part of DGN's student newspaper, The Omega, has brought me an abundance of opportunities. I was given the ability to travel to San Francisco for the annual Spring Journalism Education Association and National Scholastic Press Association convention with some of my peers from journalism and yearbook. There, I viewed eye-opening and informative sessions that taught me things like not only how to write an editorial piece, but also how to cover trauma in a publication. I also was able to present a session of my own alongside 2 other Omega editors, and we were able to share our journalistic methods with students all over the country. I was also named part of the Illinois Journalism Education Association All-State Journalism Team and will be traveling to Springfield, Illinois for a luncheon that commemorates this achievement. But above all, the most valuable opportunity is in our normal high school distribution. Writing stories that are published gives not only the community of North High School, but the whole community of Downers Grove a chance to become informed of stories that would have otherwise been left untold. Our staff truly became a family over the past school year, and the relationships I have built with my fellow editors, I could never imagine my life without. The positive and sometimes negative feedback from stories I've written are what I appreciate most. These comments prove that people still care about what gets published in a student newspaper and makes all of the early morning and late night deadlines worth it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matthew Trower, and I'm also a junior at Downers Grove North. And this has been my first year as an official part of the Omega. I started off last year as an independent designer through my computer art class, where I would design infographics for the school paper. And I actually ended up competing in the IHSA sectional with the Omega as their infographic designer. I was lucky enough to place second at sectionals and was able to travel to the state trip with the entire staff of the Omega. And it was there where I started to talking to Miss Levin, our advisor, and I expressed to her my interest in journalism. And I submitted some samples of my work, and I became an A&E editor for the next school year, which is this school year. For my first official year on the Omega, in addition to sticking with A&E stories and writing reviews of film, music, I've really branched out and was able to tackle 2 major research-heavy news stories, and I worked on various multimedia projects for the paper, including a video broadcast package on the recent walkout in March. Through the Omega, I've been lucky enough to experience a bunch of amazing opportunities. I was lucky enough to go on the state journalism trip for a second year in a row, this time competing in feature writing. I was able to attend the Northern Illinois Scholastic Press Association's annual conference and was able to attend workshops that were led by industry professionals from publications ranging from the Daily Herald to even some editors for the Travel Channel. And this year at the Northern Illinois Scholastic Press Association, we call it NISPA for short, both the Omega and Downers Grove South Blueprint took home the Golden Eagle, which is the highest honor given to publications throughout Northern Illinois. And for my work, I also won blue ribbons for review writing and for news writing. And perhaps most excitingly, I recently found out I was selected as the Illinois representative for the Al Newhart Free Spirit Journalism Conference, which is named in honor of the founder of the USA Today newspaper. The conference will be taking place in Washington, D.C. this June, where I will attend numerous workshops and meetings with media professionals and get to meet passionate student journalists like me from around the country. Our current editor-in-chief, Natalie White, was selected as the Illinois representative for last year, and talking to her about her experiences with the conference has only made me that much more excited for the coming summer. Thanks.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Question? Are either of you going to plan to go into journalism?
As I've been traveling in all of the sessions I visited, journalism has been kind of brought to me as a dead-end career, and although I don't want to believe that, I definitely want to continue either pursuing it as a student newspaper within my college, but I don't think right now it's the best for majoring in, although a minor does sound appealing. So,
kind of going against that, I do intend to major in journalism in college. A bit of a difference.
No, opposites attract, so.
Yeah.
I think journalism is just going to change, and I think that probably everybody would agree. You know, journalism is a free and strong press is the backbone of a democracy. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just wish you the best. And we're just glad we enjoy reading the newspapers and
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
We will.
Yeah, we'll keep it coming next week when our next issue comes out.
We send a print tomorrow, so.
All right.
Congratulations. on a great year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good.
We'll let you get back and burn the midnight oil.
Thanks.
Student report.
Alrighty. So, since the last time I saw you guys, so we had our musical All Shook Up. That was April 19th through the 22nd. We also had James and the Giant Peach, which was this past weekend, the children's play, which the little kids, they were very excited about. They seemed to enjoy it. We also had our college decision day on May 2nd, you know, where all the seniors wear their t-shirts and everything. And then...
And you are going to...
I'm going to Vanderbilt.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
So,
That's great.
Yeah, that's happening.
Great school.
And then we also had prom, and Mr. Schwartz is there also, and that was a fun time. So.
Was he dancing?
What are you studying at Vanderbilt, Mom?
I'm not sure yet. So I applied as an English major, but they have a 5-year MSN program, which I'm gonna do. So.
Masters of Science in Nursing, just to be clear.
Just clarifying that, right, Nancy?
A noble
I thought you were
profession.
a noble, Happy Nurses Day, and I thought you were going to Loyola, but I know somebody at Vanderbilt, so we'll talk. And I'll talk to your mother for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, parent teacher, oh no, I'm in the wrong spot.
You're in the right spot. Invitation.
Yeah,
for parent-
parent teacher advisory committee.
Scott?
Yeah, so we have our meeting on Monday, May 14th, starting at 6 o'clock at Downer South in the library. So we sent out an invitation on April 26th, and right now we have over 70 people RSVP'd for it. So
Oh, that's great.
if someone's looking to still attend it, they can either look back to the all-school email that went out April 26th at 3:30 p.m. Exactly. Jill helped us with that. Otherwise, you can call the district office and we can get you RSVP to come to the event. So we're doing.
Questions?
Right.
Hearing none, foundation checks.
Send us over to the foundation.
I'm very happy to be back here in my new role, sort of new role, for the past year as president of the foundation board. And tonight we are presenting 3 checks. We're very excited. 2 are going to the Downers Grove North Science Department. So if Mr. Hines would step forward, and I always tell people these aren't the real checks, just in case you thought they were. But the first one is for a very fancy camera that they're going to be taking with them to Costa Rica with the students. Do you want to show it to them? Or it's an addition to a camera, I should say.
Well, it's a 360 camera.
Yeah.
With your permission, I'd like to get a picture of the room tonight.
Yeah.
Leave it out, so in a little
It's a
bit.
public meeting, so. Without our permission.
Without your permission?
Yeah.
Because I took 12 of them already. So that'll get the whole room, and in my hand too, which really looks wacky. It won't erase your memory. I don't.
It's
the blinky thing from Men in Black.
I'll tweet that out later after.
And then you'll be able to see all the great pictures they take in Costa Rica when they're there. And then the second check is for the Downers Grove North Science to do some more study of genetics. So watch out, they might be, picking on some board members to figure it all out, use you as guinea pigs. I don't think so. But we're so happy to be able to do that for you. And hopefully, I know you'll make very good use of it. You need more pictures? Another picture? Oh, thank you. And then the last one is very special. We have to give Terry Pavicic credit for this because she was really, I think, the mover and shaker. She is still our representative on the board, of course. And they're going to be planting tomorrow, as I understand it, into straw bales so that you'll be able to get tomatoes and all kinds of cool things out of a straw bale. So that's pretty amazing. So this check is going to the transition program, which is very exciting since it's been very close to my heart for years. And they're going to be planting like in your parking lot. Is that kind of where it's going to go?
It's kind of like the border between
Yeah.
Mr. Sub and our parking lot, so.
So look for great tomatoes at Mr. Sub this summer. But I know that it's going to be a wonderful program. Thank you. And we really are very grateful to Terry for pushing for
1
that.
o'clock, that's what you put in the
Yes.
thing.
Okay. Just making sure.
Is this the first grant to the transition?
Need a picture?
Yes.
It is. Yes.
Cool beans.
It is.
Terry does this too, at home.
Terry,
So
yeah.
she's an expert.
Yeah.
Oh, but this is the first grant that the transition house?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Yes.
Right, so it's.
Yes.
it's-
So
wanna pick-
I just hope the kids enjoy it as
I'm
much
sure we
as,
And it's supposed to be a beautiful day.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
yes.
It'll be
A
cool.
lot
Where'd you
better
go
than
get
the
your
first
picture
one we picked.
Yeah.
It was like,
Go.
Come on, yeah, like,
Terry,
Get in there.
Terry.
oh, yeah, that's a great idea, Terry. Do it.
Come on, Jill.
How does it balance, Jill, Mrs. Professional? Thank you,
All right, I'll
congratulations.
see you tomorrow.
And we're grateful that the board continues to support the foundation. Thank you.
We're grateful the foundation continues
Thank
to
you,
support the
Julie.
school.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody again.
Good night, Julia. Good night. Hi, Diane.
Master facility plan progress.
The first of our design team meetings will start this week. If you see up there on the presentation, all of the meetings have kind of the same general flow to them. Introductions of the team members and then kind of the purpose of why these teams were formed, really to define the key concept standards and core ideas for each of the design areas. And then they'll go through a couple of activities that will look at what our current facilities look like, what other model examples at other districts look like, and then provide feedback about ultimately what should each of the themes look like. So Tony, if you'll scroll down, you can see here's the meeting times for all of those board members. I've sent those to you. I know they're during the day. We will circulate to board members anything that comes out of each of those to each of your teams, and we're going to start an email group. Tomorrow we're building the email groups that you'll be in, so you'll see all the communication that comes around those different teams as well, so you could participate virtually as well. We'll do the kitchen this week. Next week are those other design teams, so the kitchen at North. And then the way that we're going to structure it with the students in the community is both Ed and Janice are forming a North and South High team, and the Wednesday and Thursday after final exams, we'll meet with each of those student teams, and they're going to kind of vet what the adults put together. So they'll look at each one of these plans as one student group. There won't be a design team for each of the areas. We're getting a good cross-section of students to look at what the adults say and then tell us if we're crazy or not. And then after their feedback, we'll do a community one. And we'll bring in community members to do the same thing. Take a look at the things that started with the staff, were vetted by the students, and then the community will be able to take a look at that and provide feedback. And then from that, they'll draw some stuff up and we'll get it up and get people to provide feedback once again on it. So that's getting it kicked off.
And the meetings will be held here?
Meetings are here in this room.
And if we're on the team, we can come?
If you're on the team, you can come.
All right.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So, any questions on how that's
And you'll
going?
buy donuts for them, right? Donuts and coffee?
No.
Board member attending
Oh, yeah, I like that.
brings the donuts.
So what's the format of each of these meetings? Who's leading the meeting, and how's the structure been worked out for the meeting time?
Both the administrative team here in cooperation with the architects are leading each of those meetings.
Will department chairs be involved?
Yeah, there's a cross-section of folks across the school. It's a lot of people involved. When you
Teachers
stack
too?
them all together. Yeah. So the link I sent out, and I can resend it out tomorrow because it'll be finalized. But we have a spreadsheet that has everybody in it. So Mike, the way that the first meeting will work, can you scroll up to the agenda real quick? So every one of these meetings kind of represses out with this same agenda. So introductions, then we tell them why they're all there, what we hope that they'll be able to accomplish as we work with them over the next year. And then there's two different activities. First, they look at similar spaces in other schools and provide feedback around what aspects. So let's just take Learning Commons as an example, right? So everybody in the room will meet each other. We'll tell them, here's what we're going to do over the next course of the year. Here's why you're here. And then they're going to take a look at other Learning Commons from around the world, around the country. Virtual pictures, online, those kinds of things. And they'll list out what do they like, what don't they like, provide feedback on those spaces. And then we'll ask them to take those ideas and think about what's in our current spaces, how do our current spaces adapt and fit.
So when you say we ask them, you're talking about the architects, right?
No, we're talking about asking the design team.
You're asking the design team.
Mm-hmm. The architects are helping to lead the design team through this activity.
And will there be different people in each team, so people be coming and going? So like the people at the 7:30 meeting might not be the same people at the 8:30 meeting?
Yep.
Because there's going to be ebb and flow.
There'll be a new group will come in about every hour. Yeah.
Completely new group.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
About how many in each group?
The smallest groups are about 10 people, 10 of our staff members.
What's
and
big?
the biggest group is about 45.
Ooh,
wow.
That's a lot of donuts.
Yeah, that's a lot of donuts. So get ready.
What about that STEM one? Is that one of those 10? Invitation only on the STEM.
How will the results of the meeting be reported out? Is each meeting?
Yeah, after each meeting, we'll culminate all the feedback we got, put it together in a document, and circulate it for after that first one.
Did I read that some of the meetings will be in the evening at some point?
Yeah, once we get to the point of the community ones, they'll be in the evenings, yeah.
The one that's this Wednesday, the 9th, what time is that meeting?
The cafeteria one?
Am I on that?
I think it's 1:30, Terry, but
I think you're on the cafeteria and
the North Kitchen one?
Yeah.
culinary arts.
Yeah, that's North Kitchen.
That's more the 16th, right?
That's
Not
one
the
on
9th.
Yeah, that's a separate one just on the 9th.
Is it the kitchen in the cafeteria?
Yes, it is the actual
Okay, so
kitchen-
that's not
kitchen
me,
equipment. No.
right? No.
That's with the.
Okay, because I was going to say,
food service personnel.
I was going to say, I have attainable futures that day, so I can't always.
You're the 16th at 9:30.
Yes, got that.
Yeah, the one on the 9th is with Chartwell's, with the actual cafeteria provider to look at the actual mechanics. And
I can do kitchen layouts too, but.
Has there been a long-term, I mean, how far out is this going to go before the architects actually do start putting some things together for people to look at? What's the timeline?
Somewhere in June, we should get the earliest drafts of
Really?
some of the spaces, yes. Depends on the space, Mike. You know, the bigger spaces are going to obviously take longer, but some of the smaller spaces might turn around pretty quickly. For the first draft of what's there.
I think they were saying August or even September for
The majority of it.
enough of a set
To
that we
getting-
could have a CM look at it and, for them to work with. So earliest is June.
For presentations to,
Well, for them,
You know,
they have a blueprint that they could, floor plan that they could actually look at and some schematics.
So as those become available, we'll pull in the community groups, we'll post them online, we'll have all kinds of opportunities for people to provide.
to comment. Okay.
We'll follow the same thing we did with the referendum process and use video and online resources a bunch.
What decisions are reserved to the board? I mean, once we go through design, I mean, the board isn't commenting on, is the design of this bathroom laid out correctly? But where,
On that design team, then absolutely, that's where your opportunity to provide that early feedback.
but I'm asking, what does the board sign off on?
The final rendering, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I don't
The core
know.
team would be vetting every final thing that comes out of all the design teams goes back to that core team to look at.
So is the majority of the work done in the committees, and then the board just approves like bond sales and contracts
Certainly all the
that are
bond
let out?
issuances the board is to approve. We'll have one coming up at the May meeting, a business meeting. But I think you were saying it correctly, though, the core, we're going to be the screeners for everything. The core group is going to be on every meeting. And my understanding is once there's a decision made, that, that theming group, at least as a majority of the individuals agree that we've got the right thing, then it would come to the board. I would think we'd have.
Yeah, we'd always give you the opportunity to provide feedback, but there's not a time where the board votes and approves. This is the learning commons, right?
Yeah.
Well, there could be.
I don't know, I'm just curious as to that process, how it works.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad thing for us to sign off on them, really.
It'd be nice to see what we're spending the money on.
Oh, you're going to see it all along the way. I mean,
You're going to have updates going on routinely, and if anybody has a problem,
please don't wait until the final drawing is done to provide your feedback.
Plus, we have two board members on the core meeting.
Yeah, we have two on every one of the design teams and the core group. So, if we're waiting until that final draft is brought to you for you to provide feedback, that's way too late.
Yeah.
As you see the initial stuff come out of the design, you're going to see everything. Many of you will sit in on those meetings to look at them. And we'll see all of the side conversation that happens around each of those.
Again.
Please be involved at those stages. By the time the final draft makes it to you, to unwind all of the work to that point would be heavily burdensome.
So kind of how we have financial reports is the same way we're going to I'm asking, as we kind of unfold this, are we going to be getting a financial report of the spending? Is that how you
absolutely.
plan to, okay.
Yeah,
Attack it?
Yeah, as we spend money for the board, and it'll be updated on the website, and it's a standing agenda item, every board meeting for the next foreseeable future, to report on what happened between the last board meeting and that board meeting, what's been spent, what designs have come forward. You're going to see it here as well, so you'll see more detail in those exchanges that'll happen in the groups you're in.
But you didn't see his
Maybe I can ask my question just slightly different. So let's just break it down to like this summer's work, the HVAC work. So we're going to vote on the bond issuance, correct?
We're going to issue 9.
And then we'll approve the bids, and that's the way the board is interfaced with the project.
The bids have been approved, right? So the
For
bids
this-
are.
We've
I'm sorry.
already did
Okay.
it.
So
For future work.
So this
yeah.
funding, and it's more than what this year's project, so we have a separate capital project fund just for master facility proceeds. And all expenditures will go out of that same fund. So we'll put $9,060,000 is the number right now that we're planning on issuing, where we would actually get that money in June. We're approving it here and asking for approval in May. And then we'll probably spend a little more than half, maybe 6 million, up to 6 million of that money. So that 3 million is really just sitting in there waiting for the next line of stuff that'll come up. Now, I think the architects are thinking that right now, and it could change, we're still working out some of the phasing of this, and that'll take a while, to do maybe the things that are new footprints, so that where we're bumping out the buildings, that work would get done next year. Just because they're still going to be working on the internal design and they won't have it all ready to go next summer with the core work inside. But it depends on how fast some of these things go, how fast they can work. So then we would issue next year 40 million, roughly, we're thinking in $40 million chunks to finish off the project, maybe 46 million at the end would be the last one to make it square. But we're going to, as soon as we know the phasing, that's when we'll issue the bonds, and we might do a little different pattern, depends on how their actual construction phasing works out. And the bond market might change our opinion too. If the interest rates start to look like they're going to go crazy, we might issue sooner, capture some lower rates. I'm sorry.
I would say that like that's a kind of our routine process, but we didn't review like a design of the HVAC system, So we're going to have committees on this overall design process. I guess my question is, does the board eventually approve an overall design, or is it just done at the committee level and then we approve the financing of it? I'm just conceptualizing as to how this process is going to work.
My thought was that there wouldn't be a board vote on this. Now we can choose.
The aesthetics.
I don't know.
I wanted more discussion about that.
My thought was to have you involved organically in the process, so that
you wouldn't have
a variety of board members part of that. You're going to be in on it, from the ground.
The ground level, yeah.
Your feedback there. We have 2 board members on the core committee to make sure all of those things are fitting together. I think that's far more powerful and allows board members far more impact on the overall output than we bring you something, we say this is good, and if 4 people agree, it's done.
For sure, because then we don't really, we can't really provide any meaningful input in that scenario. So I totally prefer your approach. I was just curious as to what the board actually approves or does not approve.
I would think it'd be more in superintendent's reports, where we get them out here in front of the public, and we'll have them up online and everything else for feedback. But then, once we have something kind of sketched out, we definitely bring it to the public here, but the board should have seen it well before, just like most things that you see as board members that come here in front in the public, you've gotten information on it well before the public sees it. So we just mirror that with this as well. Now, by all means, if by the time something comes up in public and you're like, whoa, that's not at all what I thought you were bringing us, then yes, please voice your opinions at that point. But there shouldn't be a need for an actual vote by that time. Everybody would have had their opportunity to provide feedback. And by all means, if I have many board members not happy with what's moving forward, you know that I'm not going to bring it to the public.
So is in terms of this, so what's the harm in having, so the idea is we go through this process so that we get to a point where we're very confident that the board's going to have consensus over the thing that's going to be done. What's the harm in acknowledging that consensus before pulling the trigger on, I'm not.
The only thing I can think of is it might be that they're going to have kind of a sketch out of this thing, maybe not the actual plans, but they may find some mechanical issues to keep them from doing that, and we wouldn't want to have, if we have to bring it back for another board approval after they figure that out, I mean, it's a possibility, I think.
I don't want to burden the system, but then we're spending $136 million. I think at some point we ought to be saying, yes, this is what we think ought to be.
So are you talking about like paint colors and everything?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
I'm talking about here's the thing. Yeah.
What we're shooting for.
This is what we're doing, and to be able to, the board to be able to say, yes, we're on board with that.
I think it would be tough for a board, though. So, for example, culinary arts. I'm not on that core team. Mm-hmm. It would be tough for me to sit in a room and vote on yes or no on that culinary arts after the core team has gone through public feedback and the 20 people or so have gotten through in design. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I'm going to see it. I'll see it ahead of time, but I really don't think the board should have to vote on. You're talking about getting a vote on the final plan that would come out of each one of these design teams.
I'm looking at it more holistically. Yes.
So what would that look like, Mike? I'm just having a hard time picturing.
So what I'm thinking is that we end up having a master plan, that is incorporating everything up there that we're able to sign off on.
Isn't that the core team?
I just think that this board should have the final say on that thing.
So what I would like to see is, because I know there's a lot of interlocking pieces here, but when we're ready, I would like to see a rough timeline about when each piece is going to be done, knowing that there's always something. Mm-hmm. And then as part of that, routinely, as you're saying, this is what our core team met, this is what we're thinking. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I like that. Bring that feedback, and then, is that what you're?
Mike, can I not commit to something now? And
sure.
Let me talk through it with the team, with the architects, see what they would recommend we would bring to you in that type of a thing, and then when we're back on in that report, I'll come with some ideas. I'm just, right now, not picturing what that might be, and maybe the team and the architects could help me come up with a proposal of what we would be bringing you. I just don't know what that would look like. I don't know enough yet.
I'd like to see the whole vision for each school as it's worked out in total.
Yeah, but is that in words? Is that in drawings? Is that in a Gantt chart? I mean, what would be in that presentation that would be artifacts for you that then would be the evidence that the board would be voting on?
Most likely drawing.
Like an artist rendering of what it's going to look like?
No, it'd be the actual
floor plan.
The actual drawings.
No, not the construction documents, but the conceptual plan for everything so we had things that we put in front of the public, and we made it very clear.
Right.
That's not
the design.
That's not it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I would like to say, okay, now I see what that is, and I'm on board with that.
Okay, give me a couple of weeks to come up with what that might look and feel like.
Okay.
And then on the 21st, I'll come back with an idea.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're all going through this the first time.
Yeah.
We don't know what,
For sure.
we don't know what the
I just
process
don't want to
is.
commit to,
Yeah.
I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yeah, I'm just saying, give me some time, and I'll figure out what that might look like in a couple of weeks, bring an idea, and then you guys can tell me if that matches what you'd like to see or not, and then I'll take another swing at it.
We can do that.
Here's just a food for thought that might be like a hypothetical that might need to come back to the board. The South High School auditorium. Maybe there's something that comes up through the design process that's going to increase the scope of that project from a cost perspective by 25%.
Yeah.
And the core team isn't comfortable with just saying yes to that without coming back to the board for some sort of approval on that. So that's just maybe an example. I don't know.
You gave
I
me a
loved
project.
it. We honestly did not talk ahead of time. I echo what Don said. I mean, that's exactly where I'm coming from. Because in these things, it's really easy. It looks real tidy. We have each of these individual things, and then when in fact there's a lot of this going on, and one thing can affect the other,
But at the same time, Don, in that example, you're approving all of the bid work, you're approving all of,
we understand
so
that.
that would stand out by then, and obviously by the time I was bringing something to the board to approve something like that, I would have to have worked with the team to explain why that was coming out the way it was. So, but beyond that, I don't think you want to see a little more than that, but let me talk through.
I'm not advocating for one way or the other. I just trying to think of how this process is going to work. That's all.
Fine.
Yeah.
So give me a couple of weeks. We'll have these meetings, and over that course of the time, maybe I'll have a better answer for you.
One thing's for certain, we all want to do this right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We've been entrusted with a wonderful
lot of
gift
money.
here, really.
It's responsibility.
It comes with a burden of responsibility. I want to make sure we're doing it right. But this is exciting stuff, right?
Yep, we're getting rolling.
I think we're all like on pins and needles.
Let's roll. And at some point, we'll be talking about the whole construction management piece of this, too. We talked before.
Yeah,
in terms of the-
that'll come back somewhere around August, because that's when they think they'll have more of these design pieces worked out, which will give us more realistic proposals for construction management.
Because, there's on the construction side, we've all heard the term value engineering, this sort of thing. There's some benefit to getting some of that, that construction side expertise and looking at some of the things that we're doing earlier versus later, I think.
Well, there is some of that service provided through White at the initial phases, but there'll be somewhere in here a spot where it switches over from those initial phases to where we feel we have enough information to get responsible proposals around construction management. It's just, at this point, I can't even explain to you yet how we might approve things with the board. I don't feel comfortable trying to get a construction management group in here and explain it to them.
I'm not advocating for that right now. I just want, seeing the timeline on all this and help me get my arms around planning my future. We're going to be spending a lot of time.
I think May 16th is going to probably answer a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those 2 days, we'll have a much better feel at the end of those.
Okay.
Than what we do right now.
Wonderful.
Anything else on the certified staff
And
appraisal?
Rick, I'll send you I'll send you the whole list of those teams tomorrow, so you can see who's sitting on all of those. And we have
Julie's already got it.
building, role, and we have building, and role, and individual, so you can see kind of the cross-section that we've gathered them from. All right, certified staff appraisal system. This is an item that we've been working on for the whole course of the year in cooperation with a variety of certified staff sitting on a committee with administration, and we've kind of redesigned it. And this is really tailored this time around for our tenured staff. So these are folks that have already been with us for a little while. So Tony, if you'll go to the next slide. As we look back on the last 4 years of our certified staff appraisal system, remember, this system was redesigned. You've all been through the para-training with the board. It was really designed with the idea in mind that we had to catch all of the bad teachers in Illinois and get them out of the profession. And 4 years of a very scientific, very stringent evaluation process with our staff that's very stressful on everybody involved. We walk out with 0 tenured staff with a needs improvement rating. Charlotte Danielson is the person that builds the rubrics and the system that everything's built around. And what she says is good teachers are those that are proficient or excellent. Every one of our tenured staff members is proficient or excellent, as defined by that system. So we're spending a lot of time on this, and what we've established is we've got a lot of good teachers in this district, as according to the system. Tony, if you go to the next one. When we talk about proficient versus excellent, it causes some challenges in this sense. This idea of distinguished by Danielson's own definition is not a spot where a teacher is at all the time. A teacher is constantly in a class period, a week, a month, a school year. Our good teachers are bouncing between proficient and excellent within that time. And they say distinguished is a spot you visit, but nobody lives there all the time. And the way that the system is set up right now, the majority of our evaluation time and effort is spent deciding if a teacher is proficient or excellent. Okay, a lot of stress, a lot of time goes into that dividing line when it really doesn't matter in the whole scheme of things, because it's just for that moment in time when you see that teacher, they're one of those two. But if you went to the next moment, they might be the other one of those two. And it's a lot of time for nothing in the end. Tony, if you go on. So by her definition, proficient, excellent are good teachers. So we're talking about good teachers here. Tony? And Danielson, after she collected millions from states in rewriting teacher evaluation programs, has now come out and said, well, we probably shouldn't have spent all this time deciding on a rating. We should have been working on ways that help teachers really improve at what they do. And you all didn't build systems that do that. You built systems that created ratings at the end. So we've gone back at this from a different lens. Tony? So the major problem with our current evaluation system is that every time a teacher goes through it, they start at 0. We start with the assumption that they are a terrible teacher, and then you have to gather enough evidence to prove that they've risen up to a level that is excellent.
I see.
But we've already done hundreds of hours of these evaluations, and with a single teacher in a 2-year cycle, there's probably 30 to 50 hours of time that's spent in total establishing a rating. And then we start 2 years later at 0 and have to spend that 30 to 50 hours to establish another rating. Instead, Tony, go to the next one. What we want to do is get rid of this idea of starting at 0. We know you're already a good teacher. You've been here. You're tenured. You're good. And we want to just do a checkup. We've talked this year about the difference from you go in with your doctor and you have a yearly checkup, and they make sure everything's good. If something stands out that's not so good, we dig in. But if everything checks out, they see you next year. You're okay. They don't start with, we don't know if you're healthy or not. We don't know if you're alive. We're going to run every test that we have out in the medical profession to verify that you're healthy. Right? We know you're healthy. We know based on what we saw the last time we saw you, and we start there. We're going to do the same thing with our evaluation process. But the thought is by giving back time, effort, reducing stress levels, that we give that effort back into our organization to taking what we know are already good teachers and give them time to develop their craft and get even better at what they do. We're working on a personalized professional learning program, a new staff development program that will be working the bugs out over the next year. And then the time we're giving back in this evaluation process, we expect will go towards teacher professional development. So we've made some key changes in this. We're verifying teacher performance. We're not, by law, we have to give them a rating. We're not as focused on it as we used to be. We're doing a checkup, not this comprehensive exam, and we're still documenting outlier evidence within that evaluation process. At the end of the 2-year cycle, if we see something that stands out, we're going to send them back through the non-tenured cycle. So they're going to go through the very stringent cycle the next year. If things stand out and we feel like we need to do a full checkup, we will after that.
So that'll be the non-tenured evaluation cycle. They're not losing tenure.
They're not losing tenure. They're just going to go use that tool to go through. Remember, we always have all of the other tools for bad employee behavior still at our disposal. Contact letters, notices to remedy, all of those kinds of things are still tools outside of the evaluation cycle. So, those we also have. This is just evaluation. The goal of this is to end up with a system that really allows teachers and their evaluators to go back to having conversations about the profession, about what they see in the classroom. One of the biggest downfalls of the system we're in now is it doesn't foster conversation, it doesn't foster risk-taking, because you're starting at zero. Why would you take a risk if you have to show perfection? Why would you roll out a lesson that you're not 100% sure is going to succeed if you know it's got to be perfect, right? We want authentic times when our evaluators are in there where people are in and can say, Mike, that didn't go real well. Let's figure it out. And we want to have that authentic conversation about practice rather than a rating. This is the whole flow chart, how it works. We won't go through the whole thing, but there used to be goal setting, and then there were these 2 scheduled formals, which were an hour pre-conference, an hour of watching a full lesson, and an hour of a post-conference. And it was all scheduled. You knew exactly what was going to happen. You'd pick your best lesson if you could with your best class, and that's what you would run through. Now we'll still do the scheduled formal, but because we're starting it, we know you're good. We're hoping that in those lessons, we expect that over time in those lessons, we're going to see people taking risks and having people in for authentic dialogue around how to improve their teaching. Then we have a scheduled informal, which is dropping in, scheduling a time to come in for part of a lesson, but not the whole hour. And then another one where we drop by unannounced for part of a lesson. And all of those are followed up with dialogue. And then at the end of that, you can see that not sure. If we're not sure that you're still at that proficient to excellent rating in that kind of above the line, we're going to come through and do that non-tenure procedures and do the full checkup. If not, we go right back through the same process going forward. And we've streamlined all of the documents. One of the current structure has a lot of paperwork. A lot of time goes into just documenting things. We've streamlined all of that so people aren't spending a lot of time on the paperwork part of this as well. So that should give it a lot of time back. Yes?
I never understood the value of the scheduled formal.
By law, we have to have one.
Okay.
By law, you have to have a scheduled form.
As you developed this process, were teachers involved in this, or was this all administrative?
No, it was a team. Teachers, department chairs, counselors, a variety of certified staff.
Union representation, too?
Union representation was there. Yeah, we co-presented this and built the presentation for the staff with the teachers union. Actually, the union leadership were our guinea pigs of the first presentation before we went out and gave it to the whole staff. So.
And what was their feedback?
So far, feedback has been great. I did, last week, I did 3 days of drop-ins in the schools, and I didn't have a single person come by and ask a question. We've done a lot of FAQs, we've done a lot of virtual feedback leading up to this, and I think people are okay with it. Ed and Janice, we're not hearing a lot of chatter or anything, not a lot of questions. I think people are pretty open to what we're doing here.
No, just looking at this, I saw that 0 tenured teachers fell in a lower category. Is it because our bar is so low, everybody hits it?
No, we have a pretty high bar.
Because that was kind of,
We have requirements on top of the Danielson
not one
rubric.
teacher, you know.
Not once they're tenured. Now, non-tenured teachers, yes, we have had by that point. But our tenured teachers are meeting the grade according to Danielson.
So somebody has excellent or either you get to excellent or / proficient. Are you either you're affirming the existing excellent or proficient rating, or you're potentially changing someone from proficient to excellent?
No,
or
we're turning that into a single rating.
Aha.
Because that's what Danielson considers
Okay.
as a single rating.
Got it. So
I'll show you how that works in a second. You're kind of spoiling my lead, Mike.
All right, sorry. I'll be quiet.
But yeah, you're right. You get that rating and then you go back through it, or we're going to double check and make sure we don't have any concerns.
Got it. So, I mean, the way to think about this is that it's, I mean, this first part of the process is just affirming what we already know. And, but if we discover something that's a little, then we send back through to do a more thorough
If we
evaluation.
discover something that's really concerning, is probably a contact letter and those kinds of things immediately in a personnel file.
It seems like it makes a lot of sense.
Tony, if you go to the next one. Our non-tenured teachers or teachers returning to the full cycle follow that same one that we have in place. And if you look at Danielson's most recent writing, she says that there needs to be that audition period, right? There needs to be this tryout probationary period where you're really checking on practice and making sure before you make that tenure commitment that you have a process that's more meticulous like that. Tony? So, as you've learned through all of our ESSA conversations this year, there's 4 key measures that districts will be accountable for in the coming years. High school districts, graduation rates, 9th grade on track, attendance, SAT. You've seen all of those presented this year. Part of the teacher evaluation process in Illinois requires that a portion of it is classroom evaluation and a portion of it is student growth, things that are measurables that go into the teacher rating. So Tony, if you go to the next one, this is where proficient, excellent become the same bucket. So we're going to use those 4 categories, those 4 key ESSA measures that we are all responsible for as a district to determine which one of those ratings is open for the 2-year cycle. So if we are above state averages in at least 3 of the 4 measures for the district, then the excellent rating, the rating that is available for that 2-year cycle. If we ever drop below 3 out of 4, then the proficient rating is the one that is open. So the expectation is...
It's everybody.
Everybody. We're all in it together, me included.
Okay.
Right? So I would expect that this community would not be very happy if we dropped to state averages in any of those categories. So, and then we're all working together towards those. We all own a part of that. Where right now it's hard for a senior teacher to say they own part of an SAT score if all they teach is seniors and the kids did a junior year, right? But we all own graduation rates. We all own attendance, making an environment where kids want to come to school. We all can help 9th graders come in and be successful in how we do things and onboarding students. So these are things that we as a district all own as our ratings to our public, and all can work together and all play then into our evaluation rating. So Tony, last one.
So
this
Hank, before you move on, so completely understand and on board, but is above state average the right bar? Is that too low of a bar?
It probably is, yes, but remember, we don't know how the rules are going to play out for all of these yet. They're still in rulemaking. Okay. So we felt it was too early to set a higher bar than that without knowing, we're kind of going on faith of how this is all going to play out right now.
Is there a timetable yet? Do we have any idea when?
By this time next year, we're supposed to know.
By this time next year?
Yeah, when they're rolling out our ratings.
It just feels like a state average is too low of a bar.
Everything's a 2-year cycle in this, so in the next 2 years, that would be something we need to come back and see if we all agree that that is the right bar or not. But, we're asking a lot of people to take a leap of faith right now without we know those are the measures. We believe, boy, this community better be above state averages in however they set those rules. But then if there should be a higher bar than that, we'll know better as those rules get made and they get rolled out. So, good question.
Is there the opportunity to compare against other, like, large metropolitan suburban areas?
With this?
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
With ESSA?
With ESSA, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So we
they're
could
gonna
look
give us all
at
a rating.
suburbs outside of New York and.
Well, actually, the way that ESSA, they say that it will be designed, this is the intent, is to identify schools that excel in these areas and use them as spotlight schools to study so that other schools can learn what's working for them and apply them as appropriate in their settings. That's what they hope the outcome of this is. Whether, without the rules in place, it's really hard to know if that's accurate or not, but I mean, that's the goal. So yes, schools will be compared and shared with each other. Yeah. All right, so then last slide. I mean, really, this is what we're going for, is we want teachers just to continually be on a path of getting better, just like we want our students. And, getting better all the time, just like each of us. So we want a system that kind of honors that and actually does that. Where right now, just building for a stamp, a rating, doesn't really lend itself for that. So that's why we're going to go into these changes. We've all agreed 2 years, we're going to go through it, and we'll keep a close eye on it. And if we need to make tweaks and changes at the next 2-year cycle, we'll do that then. So any other questions that anybody has? Nope. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any visitors who'd like to address the board? Seeing none, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move, we adjourn.
I'm going to second that motion.
Mike seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.